We got a fun weekend of baseball to talk about and some massive bids in the NFBC, both in the main event and online championship. All coming up next in the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Happy Sunday evening, everybody. A little bit earlier than normal for the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. I am Scott Jenstad, joined as always on Sunday nights by Jeff Erickson. If you could please rate and review the podcast, we would appreciate that very much. If you enjoy listening to us, give us a bunch of stars, a nice comment. That goes a long way towards helping us out. We also thank Draftkings PickSix for the sponsorship of the podcast. We appreciate them for that. Jeff, we got one more week till the All-Star break. We're fully halfway in the baseball season. How are you?
Good. I'm good. Busy weekend in FAAB. Kind of disappointing in FAAB, but it's still. I mean, I knew I wasn't going to get James Wood. At least I didn't think I was going to get him because I didn't have a ton of FAAB in my 12-team leagues where he was available, and he's already owned in all 3 of my 15-team leagues in the NFBC format there. So didn't have
he's actually available in both my main events tonight.
Yeah, interesting. So tell me what happened then?
Yeah, let's jump into James Wood. I mean, obviously got called up last week, but was in NFBC format. So, most leagues you could have picked him up last week. Was not available because he had not played a game yet in the major. So he was firstly available this week. I think he was 65% rostered in the main event. He was about 33% rostered in the 12-teamers. So like 2/3 owned in the main event, about 1/3 owned in 12-teamers. He was obviously a massive bid for a lot of people. Kind of anybody that had money at this point. I think it was time to you got to spend it now because it's a massive prospect. We talked about him a little bit last week. He was available in both my main events. I did not have enough money in either one. One of them I got Taj Bradley, which actually worked out pretty well. So I spent more than $300 on him. So that was kind of one of my big ones. He went for $319 and $462 in my 2 main events. So I think we saw that it was one of those things that if you did have money, this was the time to spend it. Because if we're going to do it now, who are we going to get? Who are we going to use it for?
Exactly. I only had him available in my 12-teamers. And the Beat Jeff Erickson 12-team RotoWire Online Championships, and he went for $389 in one of them, and which was more than I had in FAAB remaining, and $247 in the other, which was also more than I had remaining. So didn't have a whole lot of money left. So we had to go to some, and we'll talk about some of the pivots, if you will. But I knew going in I was gonna be left wanting there. So it goes. Yeah. And one of my, in the main event, Dave Klum did the draft and hold, and he literally held him 30th round pick, held him to this time. So good on him. Being able to, I guess you get one stash, and he was able to make it work. So
yeah. He was available in 20 main events. The high bid was $462, so that was the one in my league. The low was $228, so we didn't go under $225 in any of them. The runner-ups were all really high too. Runner-ups were all triple digits, so it was nothing nothing I can overbid anywhere. Everything was kind of in the same ballpark. A lot of most of the bids seemed to be in the 300s. I actually did win him in the online championship. I have an interesting team there. I have a really, really good pitching staff. It's leaking oil a little bit lately, but a ton of pitching points. My offense has been really bad. I have a lot of money in there. So I kind of looked at every team available, kind of figured what a really strong bid would be. I landed on 336. The backup bid was actually 307. So felt pretty good about that one, but I did get him in that league. I figured I need offense. Who knows? It's a rookie. It's going to be tough, but he's obviously a really big prospect. So I went for it. It's kind of the point where I had a bunch of money. I needed to use it, and there it was.
Yeah. Well done. That's nothing like targeting your guy, getting him, and getting an efficient bid while doing it there. Now you just got to hope you got the right guy, but at least you got the bid right.
Yeah, in the 12-teamers, you always worry you can do that, and its backup bid's going to be like 26 or something like that because there's a big range of bids in the online championship. The 12-teamers, there's always a big range there. There was although the lowest he went, James Wood went for in the online championship was added 154 leagues there was 93. So there was no really sneaking through. As I'm scrolling down here, almost everything was like $250 or higher. There were a couple of 588s in there. But yeah, and I figured I still have, $250, something like that left. So plenty of money in a 12-teamer to get guys. So it did work, but you always worry in the online championship, the 12-teamer is always, the bid range is always a lot wider than it is in the main event.
Yeah, exactly. 12s are weird. We always say it.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit of real baseball before we jump into kind of the pivots and other guys available besides James Wood. Jeff, Yankees lost again tonight. Red Sox beat them 3-0. 2 home runs for Devers, 1 for Rafaela. The Yankees have now lost 7 series in a row. Kind of a wild number when you say that loud.
Yeah. Earlier in the week, obviously, I was paying closer attention to the Yankees because the Reds were in town. They swept the Yankees. First time they've ever been swept by a National League team in Yankee Stadium in interleague play. So that was wild.
Look at our Reds.
Home and decided to be the pace-eating Rockies and got swept by the Tigers at home. So a lot of good that did. But for the Yankee side of things, the unrest is high. My timeline is full of Yankee adjacent people that are like, oh, if George was alive, he'd never stand for this and all that. Boone's got to go. Cashman's got to go. I don't know about that. I mean, it's a little overwrought, I think, for the normal cycle of baseball. I think this is just what it happens to good teams too.
And they were probably, when they're playing 660 ball for a while, they were probably a little bit out ahead of where they were. And obviously they're not this bad. They're still 18 games over 500.
Right.
Even with this, I guess it's like almost a month-long slump now. They're still 3 games behind the Orioles, who are really, really good. It's not like they're, behind some bad team. They're still doing fine. But the sneaky thing is Boston's 4.5 behind them. Boston's the team they're coming pretty hard right now. They're playing really well. They're fun too. I'm never a Red Sox guy, but they're fun. Rafael is fun. Jaron Duran is fun. Devers is obviously absolute stud. Tyler O'Neill is fun to watch. They're a pretty fun team right now.
They are. They're rolling. They're now the 3rd wild card, game and a half up on the Royals. Who finally squeaked one over the for aforementioned pace-eating Rockies. Didn't get swept in Coors Field, so good for them. They actually, they lost a Seth Lugo start yesterday. Not that it was Lugo's fault, but they're slipping. Still plus 56, still 49 and 43, but the Red Sox have already passed them, and the Astros are coming. It's a tough spot to be in.
It is. You could feel it coming in there. That run differential that was like way higher than we thought it'd be is, like you said, kind of getting back down to just good rather than great and slipping pretty quickly. But the team right ahead of them, the Twins, I wanted to ask you about him. Jose Miranda. Well, that was an insane stretch. We had 12 plate appearances in a row, reach base, 11 hits, and 1 hit by pitch. Miranda's something like 425 in his last 25 games. It's fun to see someone that, got called up, struggled, and finally, a big prospect that seems to finally be been locking in.
The Twins are sick in those players. I mean, they've got a bunch of players like him.
So many.
I mean,
they called up Matt Wallner this week, who's like kind of fits in the same bucket too. He's been killing it AAA.
Trevor Larnach is the same sort of profile. Brooks Lee, it's his first go around, but Edouard Julien's going to get another call at some point in time. They on the pitching side of things, Bailey Ober is that guy. They have a lot of those, lather, rinse, and repeat guys that finally start to get it. And they have a few that haven't gotten it yet, and they may not. But I feel like they've just got Royce Lewis is hurt again, and yet they're not falling backward. They're 12 games over 500 now. They put a hurting on Hunter Brown yesterday. It's a good team. I mean, they got thumped by their pitching got thumped on Friday night, and they still put a scare into the Astros. It was like 13-5 and became 13-12. Crazy ending to that game.
Yeah, that game and the game you mentioned with the Padres and Diamondbacks, back-to-back, just nutty games on that night.
Yeah, it really was, and I think that they're going to be they'll be a tough out as long as they don't face the Yankees. Although they did kind of exercise that ghost last year, so I don't know.
Yeah,
but yeah,
they're quietly right now the top 4 teams in Major League in runs are the Yankees, Orioles, Dodgers, and the Twins are 4th, actually ahead of the Phillies. That offense is sneaky good.
Yeah, it is, and it's almost like the frozen tundra thawed out, and all of a sudden it became a hitting park again there. And yeah, they're going to be and just wait till they get Lewis back again too. It's just a loaded lineup there. Correa's hit a lot better lately. Made his all-star team, earned, Buxton's had a hot stretch. I mean, if they get like the rest of the season healthy from those 2 players, look out.
Yeah, they're 3rd in the league in slugging. I'm looking here; they're 4th in OPS. Like just a legit offense across the board. They've been a pretty fun team to watch. And you're right; there's like a bunch of rookie or young guys in there that if they can just get going, it's tough because they platoon so much. Like Wallner today left in the 6th inning because they give them no at bats when they have a platoon guy. So it's a little frustrating. Manny Margot came in for him. He had one at bat and a walk. You're like, oh my gosh, he just got called up. He is player of the month in the National League for June, and then all of a sudden he's leaving in the 6th inning. It's maddening. But on the other side of the Central, in the NL Central, Paul Skenes named to the All-Star game. It's crazy how good he is already. I mean, this is someone that was pitching in the College World Series last year, got drafted. I think they said it was 363 days ago, and named an All-Star today. Pretty wild. 1.39 ERA with 40 strikeouts last 5 starts. He might be the top must-see TV guy in baseball right now. Like when he's pitching, I'm flipping the Pirates on no matter what.
How early does he go in your drafts next year?
It's a great question.
First round?
Yeah. I was going to go 1-2 turn. I mean, it just depends how he kind of ends the season, how many innings they let him throw. But I mean, he's going deeper into games. I think 1-2 turn.
Yeah.
Is that crazy?
I feel a lot of Strider year 2 kind of vibes here with this one here. That there's going to be some people that will make a case to try to give him at the 1-2 turn. I think early in draft season, he might not go that high, but by the time we get to main event time, it'll be first round, barring obviously a setback.
Right.
And it might not be early enough. There'll be some pushback. What? He's only done it for 4 months. What? And all that. And then people who get him are going to be like, yep, see, told you. Now, it's all about can he stay healthy, because he throws incredibly hard, and we know what happens to pitchers who throw incredibly hard. Yep. The Strider vibes kind of apply to that too, unfortunately.
Yeah, you hope we don't get that vibes. But I mean, 28% K- walk right now. He's 33.5% strikeout rate, 5% walk rate. It's wild for a rookie. He's just, I mean, as good as advertised. I'm so used to guys not being as good as advertised or taking some time. It's kind of shocking when the guy's this good right away.
Yeah, it's fun. It's awesome. I love seeing it.
Yeah.
Question is, how long are we going to see it this year? Pirates just lost Jared Jones and Bailey Falter. They're 4.5 games out in the wild card, and just as importantly, there's 3 teams ahead of them. Although, I mean, it's the Diamondbacks, Mets, and the Giants. None of those teams are super scary. But they blew one today against the Mets, direct game there. That was kind of tough on them. They're also 10 games out in the Central. I don't think they're going to make a run at both the Brewers and the Cardinals. So it's wild card or bust. So I think that is something that I'd be a little worried about the possibility of a shutdown later on.
So he's at 59 1/3 right now. Do you think we get to 110, 120? Is that too high?
No, I think that's about right. Okay. So a couple more months and that September's in trouble.
Yeah, that'd be my guess. So that's 60. He's thrown 60 innings. I'm just gonna call it 60. It's 59 1/3. Mm-hmm. In 10 starts, so you give him another 8 starts, it takes you through August.
Yeah. So that sounds about right. Maybe they'll be creative coming out of the All-Star break. The fact that these other 2 guys in the rotation hurt in one way, because it's just fewer guys that they can use to try to stretch this out a little bit there. Now they've got Ortiz and Priester in the rotation, and Marco Gonzalez. Little Marco is going to be back.
Is that the same Marco Gonzalez, or is that a different one?
It's the same one. He's on a rehab assignment. He was part of that trade with the Braves. I think, he just, I mean, I don't think he's pitched at all. Yeah. I don't think he's pitched. Oh, he did pitch earlier this year. He made 3 starts at the beginning of the season, actually. Yeah. Was actually good too, strangely enough. But yeah, it's, they're going to need those guys to kind of carry some of the load there so we can get Skenes deeper into the season. We'll see what happens out of the break, if they try to be creative or if they just go Keller Skenes to start.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if he's the 5th guy, that they're playing a little bit of games there. But can you take a guy at the 1-2 turn who throws 110 innings the year before? Because then you probably could a cap of 130, 140 on him. And I think you probably can with these numbers. I
mean, he did throw minor league innings too. I mean, so those 27 innings count. So it'd be more like 140, basically, I'm guessing.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, then it's pretty easy. I think then you can bump it to 60
can.
And it's easy. Yeah, I think that works. So speaking of, you're talking about wild card standings, a couple teams I wanted to ask you about, curious what you think they do. Toronto and the Chicago Cubs, obviously not the White Sox. Toronto is now 8.5 out of the 3rd wild card spot, obviously a million miles behind the Orioles and Yankees in the division. And you got the Cubs, who are 5.5 out of the wild card and, a ways behind the Brewers there. What do you think these 2 teams do? We got 3 weeks, give or take, until the trade deadline. What do you think these 2 teams do? Because they do have some talented guys. They're both teams that I think had some higher expectations than how they've played the first half of the season. Toronto's 8 games under. The Cubs are 7 games under. Almost exact same records. I kind of thought they fit well together. What do you think these two teams do? Are they sellers or they buyers? Or they're holding? What do you think we get from these guys?
I think the Jays have to be sellers. 8.5 is a big number, and more importantly, the teams they're chasing are better.
Yeah.
Like you're chasing the Red Sox and the Twins, let alone the Astros and even the Royals.
And even the Rangers, if they
and
get
the
going
Rangers,
too. Yeah.
and the Rays,
yeah,
and the Tigers, believe it or not.
Yeah, I know.
The red hot Detroit Tigers, who won their first consecutive games in a month and then decided to go one more and win all 3 from the Reds. Not that I'm bitter about that or anything.
I mean, Toronto's closer to the A's than they are the Red Sox right now.
Yeah, I think it's the only thing holding back a sell-off is, it's the GM that put this team together, and the ownership may not want that guy to be the seller. You may wait till the offseason to do it, but I think that's dumb too. If it's a seller's market right now, you got to take advantage of it. We'll see. We'll see exactly what happens with that. Cubs side of things. I mean, there's a lot of teams that are ahead of them. There's the 3 teams that are the wild card, and the Braves number, by the way, has shrunk a little bit as far as their comfort zone goes. And then 6 other teams that are actually out of the wild card and still ahead of the Cubs, but it's only 5.5 games. So, and the
teams seem less scary than the ones the AL do.
Yes, a lot less scary. And the Cubs just don't seem like. I mean, I look at that roster and I don't think it's that bad of a roster. And I think but they're nowhere near in the division. I mean, they haven't shown any signs of being any. They're 5-5 in their last 10. I mean, it's not. The question, and like, who are they going to sell? Like Dansby's got a lot of years left on that deal. No one's going to trade for that, I don't think, unless the Cubs just eat a lot of that there. One of their starting pitchers, I guess. I don't know. Who can the Cubs sell? It's not a bullpen guy. We know that. Everyone's talking. Why haven't the Cubs dealt for a starter?
Even Ian Happ has 3 more years on his deal.
Yeah. You're not trading Imanaga. You're not trading Steele. No one wants Hendricks. Maybe
Morel still has years of control left. He's still pre-arbitration, so I don't know if you want to trade that either.
It's a tough spot. It
is. I mean, spot. Bellinger just signed 3 years, $80 million, right? So that's probably not happening either. It's a tough. You're right.
Belly just signed. It's a shorter deal at least, so maybe Belly. I don't know.
There's names in there that are interesting, but all of them kind of come with either a weird contract or it kind of doesn't make sense to me. Like Morel teams would probably want that. I mean, I know he's had a bit of a rough batting average year, but I don't still see why they would want to trade someone they have control over for a while either.
Yeah.
Jameson Taillon?
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of.
He's having a really good year, but he signed for 4 years, $68 million. He's signed for 3 more years after this too.
2 years, right? He signed in December 2022.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, it's 2024 now, Jeff. I can do math. Yes, 2 more years. Sorry,
2 more years, maybe, but these are the more expensive years. And he's, even this year, the numbers are good, but he missed a couple of starts because of injury, and that's always been part of his story. He's not a huge K guy. 19.2% K percentage. Swinging strike rate is down to 9%. I feel like there's a little bit of luck involved with that 2.99 ERA. So I think that's still like a 370 is like his FIP is 379. 379 still has value in this game, but not as much as you'd think.
The only thing I'll say for him is that his strikeout rate in June was 23%, and in July and only one start's 28%. He has bumped it up. He was like 13% in March and April, so he has been better. But you're right. I mean, he's not he's not a lights out kind of guy. But I think that if someone's willing to take on that contract, and he's a guy that they could move and get something decent for.
Big week for Taillon, by the way. At Baltimore, at St. Louis. Oof. What are you doing with that?
You're probably throwing it and not watching the Baltimore game.
Or the St. Louis game, maybe.
Yeah, I'm really not watching the Baltimore game though.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see this. Speaking of the Cubs, real quick, I'm interested in this Hunter Biggie guy they called up today in the bullpen. He has a 44% strikeout rate so far in AAA, only 11 innings, but guy gets a ton of swing and miss. It's could be interesting if he has a couple of good outings. If they maybe he gets towards the back end of the bullpen. He looks like a guy that it'd be fun to watch.
Every week there's a new back end of the bullpen Cub candidate.
Every week.
For us, It was not that guy. It was who did we have? We had a waterfall bid on Porter Hodge.
Porter Hodge. Yeah, and before that, it was Tyson Miller. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, exactly. And the week before that was Mark Leiter Jr. is now coming off the IL, and
I think Hector Neris has like 4 straight scoreless outings, so maybe it's just Hector Neris.
Yeah, it might be. And well, it is Neris. It's until Neris was the next one. It's Neris, and then after that, it's wide open. And who knows? Neris may be the guy that people trade for. Although, I mean, a discerning contender probably won't want to do that. But hey, sometimes you just got to get an arm that won't. You don't count him to be a closer. You're counting on him to do the 7th inning.
Yeah, I'd say similarly. I think that the Nationals are just like holding their breath that Kyle Finnegan doesn't have any blow up outings in the next couple of weeks. So I think they really want to deal him.
Yeah.
And he's actually been really good. He's got a whip under 1. So I joke that, but he's been 18% K- walk. He's actually been really, really good. But it's always those situations you're holding your breath.
Just when he's messed up, it's always high leverage. So
you just don't want you just want 2 more good weeks, and then you can deal him with really nice numbers. It'll make a huge difference.
Yeah.
Let's see. Just looking ahead at next week here, we got 12 teams with 7 games. There's a lot of games this week. Our Reds, Jeff, have the most prime of prime schedules of all time. 7 games in Great American Ballpark against Colorado and Miami. Like, this is a offensive week right here. The Reds schedule is absolutely awesome this week.
Yeah, they also had 3 games at home against the Tigers this weekend. Just saying.
You're not over that sweep, are you?
No, I'm not remotely. I'm not over this season. It's been such a frustrating, disappointing season. And not all to their fault. I mean, they've been extraordinarily unlucky when it comes to player health. It's just timing of the health too. Like, well, first of all, McLain was just devastating. It was perfectly targeted. Marte getting that suspension. Friedel with like 6 different injuries this year. He's Nordberg of the Reds there. It's just really tough to deal with it. Just so many different types of injuries. And then you add in Lodolo going on the IL too. I mean, that one's also just so frustrating there because, and the thing, like Saturday's game too. Saturday, Hunter Green pitched his butt off there. Really 7 shutout innings. Yeah. They gave him 2 runs, and the second he leaves, the Tigers score 5 runs against one of their 2 most reliable relievers in Cruz. I mean, you're just like, what are you gonna do? You could just tell too, like, once the first like 2 runners got on, and you could just feel the air coming out of the balloon.
Yep. That was the George Kirby experience today, where he left with 2 guys on, a 2-run lead, and George Springer went deep off Stanek like the second Kirby left. Those are maddening right there.
Yeah, and Springer's kind of warmed up ever since we pronounced him dead at the scene. So I
was gonna say the Blue Jays probably really want him to stay hot for the 2 weeks. So I'm sure they'd love to trade him.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, the Red schedule is good. And although I'm kind of curious, like some of these pitchers streaming against the Reds, someone like I think like Kyle Freeland actually might be, or Cal Quantrill might actually be reasonable as streams against them. But we'll see. And then the Marlins later in the week, they get Edward Cabrera. A lot of people bidding on Edward Cabrera this week. Yanni Chirinos is actually reasonable. I mean, we always just say stay away from Great American. This year, that's not the case.
Yeah. I still think summer. I think the ball's going to be flying out of there this week.
Should be. I hope you're right.
Yeah. Right. There are 2 games. By the way, Paul Spohr jumped in the chat to say go Tigers. I wanted to make sure you saw that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have
thank you, Paul. And no, it's okay though, because hey, the Tigers, they needed this weekend. They got it. They've got some interesting things going on there. It's a shame Parker Meadows got hurt today because he would have been a big free agent bid guy. I have Parker Meadows and AL tout. I was all excited to pick him up and not pick him up, but to use him. I have him still rostered. And then that happened. So I saw the quote from AJ Hinch. Looks like he's going on the IL.
Yeah, that quote he seemed really down about when he was mentioning. I hit the garbage can on his bids on every team a second I heard that Hinch quote. I was going to add Meadows wherever I could, and it just that quote got me off him so fast.
And that was the number 3 guy that we were looking at this week in FAAB too.
Yeah. I think I was doing the same. We'll get to FAAB here in a second. 2 teams with 5 games real quick. The Royals and the Padres have 5 games this week, so make sure you note that. For any Royals and Padres you had, Jeff, the good news is there were not a ton of awful injuries this weekend. Not a lot of like IL guys, but just a real quick couple of notes. Darvish, we don't know what's going here. He's placed on the restricted list with a personal matter. Never like to see that, but it seems like we will be not seeing Darvish for a while here. There was no timetable on it, but it was certainly left open-ended, which is never a great thing.
So you can get a free Padres newsletter from Kevin AC, San Diego Union Tribune. It's like Padres Daily, and he suggested it's possible we don't even see him the rest of this year. Possibly comes back, but it's that sort of like, okay, you should really be concerned about this. At any rate, no time soon. He's off the 40-man roster.
Yeah, not to make it about fantasy, but I think if you have him, I think he's a drop in fantasy. We just hope everything's going okay with him or his family.
Yep, exactly.
Julio Rodriguez had some ominous quotes. Didn't want to talk about his injury on Saturday. He missed today, but it sounded like his MRI and his quad came back clear. So I think we'll be okay with Julio. Obviously, a major guy there for anybody who drafted him. They do not play tomorrow. So
yeah,
what's that?
Pinch hit today. Got hit by a pitch, I think, and then got pulled for a pinch runner. Later got ejected in the game.
Hit by a pitch.
He got ejected from the dugout after that. Good times.
Yeah, but it seems like he'll be all right. Obviously, since you mentioned he pitched today, good call there. He should be good for San Diego on Tuesday. Yordan Alvarez missed the weekend. He got hit by a pitch in a knee. You always get worried when you get anything with Alvarez in his knees based on his history, but it seems like this one's okay. Also, we're getting to that week. This is the week where next weekend's always tough. You got All-Star break, and so many teams are like, maybe we can just send him out the All-Star break. So with Yordan, make sure you check lineups on Tuesday. They're off tomorrow, but they do play the Marlins on Tuesday. But
something to say about this though is, Justin Verlander and Kyle Tucker weren't supposed to go on the IL either.
The Kyle Tucker one's been crazy. He's been
dialing.
Yeah, it was like a day, then a week, then he's gonna be out back the exact day he's done. He's back from the IL, and it's been 3 weeks later, and he's still is starting to ramp up, I guess. But obviously, I think they mentioned there was not going to be around until after the All-Star break, though.
Yeah, and
he was on fire too.
Right, absolutely, and that's the thing is because we got that off day tomorrow too. There's so many teams with 7 games. You're going to be left short of options to pivot if you leave them in too, especially if it's for the full week. That's going to be really kind of scary to try to make that decision. Except, it is 1 week, and we got the All-Star break after that there. I think if it were more of a middling team, I think the Astros would be a little bit more passive, a little bit more protective. But the fact is, they're still chasing now. The Red Sox are hot. The Astros are playing good. We're playing good ball until they ran into Minnesota, but they need every single one of these wins because they're chasing. So I think that they're going to be pretty aggressive of keeping him not on the IL.
Yeah, this week is always tough for that, especially this next weekend as you do your Friday moves next week or this week. There's just so much. If anybody misses Friday, just take them out because they're not going to push anybody with the 4 days off after that.
Yep.
Another couple of guys that missed the weekend. Gleyber Torres missed the weekend with a groin. It sounds like he's going to be okay too. Ketel Marte, some back tightness. I hated to see that. Marte's been really, really good this year.
Yeah.
So another couple of guys here that make sure you check. The Yankees play Tuesday also. Arizona does play tomorrow, so we should know on Marte tomorrow. They play the Braves in a 4-game set tomorrow. It's a fun series right there, too.
Mm-hmm.
So real quick, before we jump into FAAB, a couple guys who are coming back. Some good injury news. Blake Snell coming back on Tuesday, making his return for the Giants. Jeff, he gets home against Toronto and Minnesota. I assume that's a slam dunk start if you still have Blake Snell, correct?
Minnesota's scary.
Minnesota's really scary, but I think with 2 starts, I think you got to do it.
It's also in San Francisco, not in Minnesota. So I think that's the kind of the push over the top. Yeah, and let's face it. You have Blake Snell. You're going to use him in a 2-start week.
I fully agree. If it was just 1 against Minnesota, I'd probably skip that. But with 2 starts, I think you got to do it. Good news in Philly land. Kyle Schwarber set to be activated on Tuesday. Bryce Harper may be activated Tuesday. Seemed a little more unsure on that one, but it sounds like Harper will be. If he's not Tuesday, he'll be Wednesday or Thursday. It definitely sounds like he'll be back this week. So Harper and Schwarber getting back in the lineup. Big news for the Phillies there.
Yep, exactly. Poor Phillies. Yeah,
I really feel bad for him.
But the funny thing is, they've overcome a lot. Turner had his stretch. Now these 2 guys are out. Luckily, it's the pitching hasn't been hit too hard. Turnbull and Walker, but the big 4 are still in there. Yeah.
Although Ranger Suarez probably needs the All-Star break here.
He's starting to leak a little oil, isn't he?
Yeah, a little bit, but obviously he's had a great first half. But he's someone that probably could use a break in his start to take a start off there. David Bednar starting a rehab assignment this week. Tough to start this week. You got to figure maybe he throws 2 games in the minors, then comes back. So maybe they just keep him out until after the break. So if you have Aroldis Chapman, you want to stomach 1 more week of that pain, you could do that for 1 more week.
Yeah. Something Edwin Diaz only 2 days.
Jeff, too soon.
I know. I'm sorry.
I think we were talking that before. I think we were before they got on. I benched Edwin Diaz this week, and he had a save Saturday and a win Sunday, coming back off the suspension. That was especially brutal to see.
Yeah. So yeah, it really was. I mean, you saw they bring him in the 8th also. I saw all the Mets fans and scribes on my timeline. Like, how can you do that in his first 2 days back, going back to back like that? Bring him in the 8th, no less. I mean, everybody was all upset about that. And then he gets a win, so you're fine.
You see his quote after Saturday. He's like, "Yeah, I'm not changing anything, but I'm really nervous every time I come to the game now." That does not sound.
I did not see that.
That does not sound great. He's like, "I was a little uneasy or whatever he said," but he's like, "Yeah, I didn't change anything. I didn't do it." I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's not what I want to hear."
Yeah, not exactly imbuing you with confidence, huh?
Yeah. Tommy Edman starting rehab assignment on Tuesday. Sounds like he should be back after the All-Star break. Matt McLain, Jeff, our Reds cleared for baseball activity. That sounds like probably a month away though, right?
Yeah, that's all along. They were saying August.
Okay.
So
I had a couple people ask me today about when you want to start stashing McLain. I still think you're a month off. I'm probably a couple weeks away from maybe putting him in my bids.
Yeah. Just check especially if you're in the online or any other early drafts. Check to see if he is drafted and dropped. Yeah. You might be able to stash him for $1 now. I mean, if you're blessed with the ability to stash, I think that's a good one. You get him on the cheap side there.
We mentioned Ranger Suarez struggling a little bit. Someone asked the chat, "You're still starting him this week?" Yeah, he gets Oakland. I'm definitely starting Ranger Suarez.
Yeah, it's still thrown.
Yeah, it's a home game against Oakland. Like, at least that's a win right there. Lastly, Jeffrey Springs, 62 pitches on Wednesday's rehab outing, coming back from his Tommy John last year. It seems like Springs should be a guy that we'll see in Tampa for the second half if things go well. Obviously, coming back from Tommy John's never really a smooth process, but sounds like he's going to be part of the rotation here pretty soon.
Yeah, and it means that Zach Littell, who got thumped today, is probably out. Yeah. I think Boz sticks and Littell is gone.
I do too. They traded Savale and Boz slid in that slot. I think you're right. I think we go Springs for Littell pretty quick here.
Yep.
So let's jump into FAAB. We had a lot of interesting names, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But first, note from our sponsors at DraftKings PickSix. Do you ever play the over/under game with your friends? Think I can eat that slice of pizza in under 30 seconds? Or I know it'll take you over a minute to down that 2 liter of soda. If you have, you're going to love PickSix, the new fantasy game from DraftKings. Here's how to play during fantasy season. Pick between 2 and 6 players and choose to have more or less of a stat, like runs, hits, strikeouts, and more. Track your picks and play against others for a shot to win huge cash prizes. That's all there is to it. Download the new DraftKings PickSix app and use code RWPicks. New customers play $5 and get 50 in PickSix credits. That's code RWPicks for new customers to play $5 and get 50 in PickSix credits only on DraftKings PickSix. The crown is now yours. 1 per new customer, non-withdrawable PickSix credits expire in 6 months, limited time offer. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, 18 plus in most eligible states. Not eligible in all states, including New York and Connecticut. Eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. So, Jeff, we already kind of talked about James Wood. He was the big prize in free agency. We talked about the prices on him, how available he was. So let's jump down. I thought it was a weird week where there was a lot of interesting outfield prospects, and obviously, or not prospects, but guys that are available. But first, I want to talk about Brooks Lee, who got called up by the Twins, replacing Royce Lewis. He's playing third base. He's shortstop eligible in NFBC so far, but we'll get the third base eligibility here maybe after a week or so. Where'd you come in on Brooks Lee? He's a pretty big prospect. He was the 8th overall pick in 2022 by the Twins out of Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, by the way. Kind of cool that there's a Cal Poly slow guy in the majors right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he was raking in AAA, hitting 329, 7 home runs. He only played 20 games there. He played a few games in A as he was coming up here. But obviously a big name prospect. What'd you do with Brooks Lee? How aggressive were you guys on him?
Not enough. But knowing,
did you like him? Did you want to be?
Knowing that we were going to not be enough. Yeah. He went for triple digits in the main. And
okay.
We have in I think something around the 200s left. So it was good. Any big, maybe low threes, if I recall correctly. Went for 123. And second place bid was 57. I believe we were the 57. So we weren't that close, but we were second. Right. He's a legit prospect. Yeah. Tearing it up at AAA. He was a first round pick in 2022. So it's not like he's a slow churn prospect. No, he's a college first round pick and has risen quickly. We were anticipating this sort of pickup. the couple, you're worried about what do the Twins do at the All-Star break? What do the Twins do with like in-game platooning? Those are things you have to worry about with Brooks Lee. He was seeing action at second base before Royce Lewis got hurt, because they envisioned him playing second alongside Carlos Correa, who's obviously going to be there for a long time.
Right.
And then Lewis got hurt, and like, okay, we're going to call you now instead. So I wanted to get him because, I mean, this, like you said, this Twins lineup, fourth highest run scored in baseball right now. Yep. They're legit. I wanted him, and I there's a couple leagues still left where I have a chance to add him. I will try.
Yeah, he was. I'm looking at the bids. He was adding 56 main events, so all but one. He might have been drafted somewhere. Maybe he was. I can't imagine he went undrafted in any of them because he had big backup bids in all of them. But it seemed like the price you mentioned, kind of in the 80 to 120 range, is kind of the bulk of the middle of the draft. So we're a couple 6 or 7 bids over 200, and then probably a handful like that under 50. But he was kind of in that 80 to 120 range. I was a little bit lower than that. I would have liked him for probably the 30 to 50 range is kind of where I was to try and grab him. Paul Spohr mentioned in the chat might be a better real-time baseball player than fantasy player, and that was kind of my thoughts too. Is that I don't know what the full upside is here. I think he's really good, really talented. I just don't know if he's going to give you enough power, or he's clearly not going to give you a lot of speed. I just didn't know what fantasy-wise he's going to do. So I was more, I wanted him, but not quite the price that he went for.
Yes, I like the sweet potential short and third eligibility.
Yeah, if Royce comes back, he can go second, third, and short too.
Yeah, he could be this year's McLain.
Yeah.
Which, hey, do you want that? I want that.
Yeah, I love that.
I love that. That's it. Sorry. I love it when I butcher a quote. 281 was his big bid, big winning bid. The smallest winning bid was just $30.
Yep.
Wow, that would have been nice.
Yeah, there were 5. Looks like 5 in the 30s were the low end of the range there.
But I guess the whole point is, my 57 only would have won it in like 10 to 12 leagues. So that's shame on me for not being a little bit more aggressive, or maybe just shame on me for not having more money. But I big advocate. Want to see him. Yeah,
I do too, and I was just a little bit lower than most on him, but. There were a number of outfielders available. If there was a week that you need some outfielders, finally, I needed outfielders for a while. Unfortunately, I had 3 guys in this, the kind of guys coming back from the minors group. I had Parker Meadows, Garrett Mitchell, and James Outman. Obviously, Parker Meadows, unfortunately, I kind of crossed off that list based on the hamstring injury and the quotes from Hinch. But Garrett Mitchell was 70% rostered in the main event, 28% rostered in 12 teamers. James Outman called back up by the Dodgers when Jason Hayward went on the IL. 32% in the main event, 13% 12 years. Outman was hitting really well in AAA too. I really like Outman. I mean, obviously he was really good last year, fantasy-wise. I know the average is low. I know he strikes out too much, but speed and power, I think he'll play every game against righties. He can play center field really well. I do like Garrett Mitchell a little bit, but he kind of falls in that Brooks Lee thing. I just don't know what he gives you fully from fantasy, and I really worry about playing time. It seems like the Brewers outfield is kind of just a mess of a lot of guys, and a lot of guys end up sitting a couple times a week.
Definite hodgepodge for sure.
Yeah.
Mitchell was already grabbed in mine, I think, the week before. Because he was eligible last week to pick up. Actually, probably eligible. I mean, he was getting picked up. He was, the note was he's going to be playing and all that. Outman, thought that was a chance we could sneak him in, but there is no sneaking in the main event.
There really isn't. Yeah.
But he only went for 10, so I was trying to be cheap at the same time. So double shame. Just a lot of shame.
Yeah, he only went for 10. That's not bad. I think I was in like the 12 to 15 range on him, and I think I got outbid in both spots.
Yeah. I also was in on Jack Sawinski, 7 games this week. I think 6 against righties, so I really wanted him and got.
Was it? I had all 7 against righties, but I might have read that wrong earlier this week. Darn it.
This might be my shaky recall, but
I was on
Friday.
There it is. Well, it's a good one at least. Hopefully, you want him to sit for that one. So 6 out of 7.
Yep.
I really liked him and Rowdy Tellez this week. I thought they were both really really nice ads based on that schedule.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that they could both be pretty useful on that.
Tellez was 3% rostered in the 12 teamer coming today, and it came out. Had a really good week, hitting the ball hard and 6 righties this week. I think he's a very sneaky ad in 12. Someone that probably people weren't fully thinking of. In main event, obviously, he was already 70% rostered. Corner infield has been pretty tough, but I think he's a 12-team play this week.
I agree. And it's funny how the narrative on Tellez in Pittsburgh has turned. He was like hated by Pirates fans because they booed somebody else and he was like, we don't do that here. And he had been there for 3 minutes, and he's trying to lecture people on that. I have a Pittsburgh radio host I do a weekly radio hit with, and he was telling me all about that, how he was disliked by the home fan base. Now they like him a little bit more.
Jeff, good question. Since we were talking about Brooks Lee, I was going to answer it in the chat, but we'll answer it now. Would you rather have Brooks Lee or Zach Geloff the rest of the way in Roto?
Man, I'm wrong on Zach Geloff every single week, dude. I think I missed his best week of the year. So
really close for me. And I think I'd still go Geloff just because I think the speed power upside in fantasy is I prefer that to Lee, but it's really close.
It is really close. I'll go Geloff too, but yeah, I'm not flying that flag high either.
Yeah, I'd certainly rather have Brooks Lee's batting average. I think that it's been pretty clear. I mean, Geloff is striking out 36% of the time right now.
Yeah,
that's really, really high. You're just never going to have a decent. I mean, he was 27% last year. He's 9% higher than last year.
Batting average matters too. So,
yes, it does.
Yeah. So if you've given up on batting average, or you've got such a buffer that you don't care, you can waste the league's time by rostering him. Go for it there, because you might get the power speed combo.
Yeah, I think it's really close just because I think the batting average definitely goes towards Lee. So I think they're pretty close. And obviously Lee has the better batting lineup for sure. They're really close. I'd probably go to Geloff, but it's pretty darn close.
Yeah.
Speaking of Minnesota with Brooks Lee, Matt Wallner, we mentioned him, we mentioned him a little bit earlier, called back up 14 home runs last 33 games in AAA. I had him on my list, but it's kind of down my waterfall just because I don't trust Baldelli to not make me really frustrated with his playing time.
Yeah, I'm a little bitter about Matt Wallner too. I'm bitter a lot, Scott. AL Tout Wars, I used up pretty much the last of my marginal dollars in the auction on Wallner. He flopped, got sent down. I cut him. I tried to pick him back up this week, and I got outbid on him. So he's just probably going to go off. Was the International League Player of the Month, as you say in the show notes. Had a big month. He was terrible for the first couple of weeks when he got sent down too.
I think he hit under 100.
I waited to cut him for a couple of weeks, and then I finally said, okay, screw it. He's screwed. He's irretrievably blocked, blah, blah, blah. So now, of course, I can't get him. And in an AL only league, a guy like that, he gets the call. You're like, yeah, of course I want him. That's how I got Kierstad. So, it's like, yeah, of course I'll take the chance on a guy like
for
that.
sure. Kind of right below those other outfielders, Alec Thomas in Arizona coming back. He's been playing a bunch, had a grand slam on either Friday or Saturday. Even Alec Thomas guy, I feel like he never really delivers on what we hope for. And we're always like, oh, well, at least you get batting average out of him. He's a 229 hitter in the majors across 840 plate appearances. I kind of like him. A little bit of speed, a little bit of power, but he was definitely below those other guys on my list.
I'm a go away Alec Thomas guy. Yeah. I have Jake McCarthy.
That's he sat 3 out of 4 when Thomas came back, he's been playing every day too.
I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
And then, but the games I have him. So when I have him active, he doesn't play. When I do have him bench, then he has like a nice little game, like 2 runs and a stolen base. You're like, but anyway, every week I've got this like choice: Cowser, Haniger, McCarthy, whatever other similar ilk outfielders there. I finally cut Haniger this week.
I cut him a couple weeks ago. I couldn't do it anymore.
He homers every Saturday just to tease us.
Yeah.
But I just can't roster that. I just can't, use a guy that's playing 3 times a week.
I think Cowser sat against 2 righties this weekend and played against the lefty, which makes
it's so
very
bizarre.
odd. Yeah, very odd.
And then every once in a while he'll have a big game still too, which is kind of crazy. But like I saw Stuart Fairchild, I saw Butler out there, I saw Yepez. I put all those in that the outfield grab bag.
Yeah. I want to ask you about Fairchild real quick. I know he sat today because he has all they said on the Reds broadcast after the game was back injury.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of moved him down after that because I actually thought we talked about the Reds, all home week. He's got 11 stolen bases already this year. I kind of thought he was going to be a really sneaky stolen base guy this week, playing 7 games at home. I kind of moved him down and I deleted him out of some too. And I saw back injury. I didn't love that. It could be minor, but I shouldn't mess with it. I was picking up guys I want to be able to use this week, and with a 7-game home week, you want to be able to use them. And I was a little worried about that.
We lowered his bid too. In fact, we took a slumping Tyrone Taylor over him, just because he's playing a lot. I know it's tough because the Reds have 7 home games against bad teams. You're like, oh, this could be really good, or it could be like he could be the next Red to go on the IL on Monday afternoon because that's how they roll.
That was my thought too. Like, it would be really tough to add a, fringy outfielder you want to play this week. And then on Monday he goes down. He just sits there all week. It wasn't, couldn't stomach that. So I did move him down. Anybody else you liked on offense? What about the Angels here? We've got Anthony Rendon. Apparently he's coming back tomorrow. I'll believe it when I see it, but apparently that might be the case. They called up Keston Hiura, who had a bunch of home runs in the minors.
Yeah.
I can't believe we're talking about Keston Hiura again. And they activated Miguel Sano. Did you have bids on any of these, hodgepodge?
Those luminaries?
Yeah.
No. I did try to pick up a Eugenio Suarez in the main. Well, I didn't really try that hard.
Yeah. He had a home run and 5 RBI today, right?
Yeah, he had a big day today.
Yeah.
We had a very short bid. I mean, we were playing very small ball on our bids today. So, I mean, play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
See it, Jeff. I get that one.
Yeah. Thank you.
Of all your references, that was the one that I knew right away. It was beautiful.
Oh, good.
Probably does not say something good about me, but that's all right.
No, it's fine. My references have a certain vintage to them. And you can interpret that word as much as however you'd like.
Now I think we might be thinking of different things.
Well, age and quality.
What was your quote from then?
No, I'm saying the quote was recent.
Oh, okay, I got you. I was gonna say it is Taylor Swift, right?
I'm saying, well, actually, it didn't come before that though with Dark Knight, right?
My reference was Taylor Swift, so that'll tell you more about.
I know. Well, I knew that Taylor Swift has that too, but anyways, I could be wrong about the origin of that. I'm gonna now Google it because I can do that.
Beautiful. While you're Googling that, any of the other fringy names you liked, middle infielder wise, Lennon Sosa is available eligible at second and third. He's been hot. Xavier Edwards, who slid in when the Marlins finally released DFA'd Tim Anderson, or Trey Lipscomb, who similarly getting playing time when the Nationals DFA'd our old friend Nick Senzel.
Yeah, it's just they're making this transition. They're a very interesting team because they're trying to compete, but yet they're trying to get young at the same time.
Yeah. It's I was a little surprised because Senzel was playing like almost every day. They went from playing every day to pretty much DFA really quick. Tim Anderson, Jeff, still has 0 home runs.
Yeah, he does, and now he's got 0 home runs for nobody now.
I
feel bad for him a little bit because his career. I know he's lost a close friend and things like that nature lately, but man, what a utter collapse in the last 2 years, Scott.
He was like a 6th round pick 2 years ago. It's crazy how fast that went away. You mentioned Juan Yepez. In a deeper league, I think mildly interesting. He's going to play every day. The Nationals sent Meneses down to AAA. I think it was about time. He'd been doing nothing. But Yepez, I think, will just play every day. And I think he was okay in 2022 for the Cardinals. He was really bad for the Cardinals last year. But I think just if you're looking for playing time, you need a playing time. A guy plays corner infielder for the week. I think Yepez at least will play every day, if nothing else.
Yeah. They got Joey Gallo coming back sometime soon. So this might be
I forgot he was a thing.
Yeah. Well, thing might be used loosely there. But when he comes back after the All-Star break, we'll see if Yepez has the playing time. But I figure at least for this week, it's probably pretty safe.
Let's talk about starting pitching in FAAB. I think we were talking earlier. Shane Baz was available in about 25% of the online championship leagues. He was the big pitching prize week if you happen to be in a league where he was available.
Yeah, that's right. I was telling you, I kept looking to try to pick him up, and he wasn't available anywhere. I really kept on trying to find Shane Baz. Like, where is he? Why? How is he not available? Who actually had him? Everybody had him.
Yeah.
Like my 12 teamers, everybody had him. It was really hard to find Shane Baz available in places. So shame on me. I'm misremembering the run up to draft season, that maybe it was really late in draft season where it was kind of known that he was going to begin the year on the IL. But and maybe people are assuming they were just stashing for a couple of weeks. I can't imagine people stashing Shane Baz for 3 months, but here I am.
It appears that they did, because he was I think he was picked up in one main event. He was picked up in 58 online championships, and just an example of how crazy the online championship can be. The 12 teamers. The high bid was $355. The low bid was $15. So it really ran the gamut. But most of the bids were about 75 to 125. So he was definitely the big pitching guy where he was available this week.
Yeah, that's right. And I don't think he loses the spot, even if he bombs against the Yankees. I think it's definitely Littell that loses the spot when Springs comes back, and Rasmussen is farther away. So I think it's going to take a little bit more. Plus, I mean, the Rays, they could be selling again here soon too. They could sell another starter. They could sell Eflin, for instance. There, I think it's probably unlikely that they sell him, just because of what they invested and because they're not totally out of in the wild card. Even though they sneakily had a no good, awful weekend themselves. They got swept by the Rangers. Lost 3 in a row. They're now 5.5 out. And it's just that you compare their roster versus the Astros and the Red Sox. Like, they're not going to catch those guys, are they? But then again, we've seen them catch them before. But the Rays are in this weird spot, which I think you're going to win our Rays bet. I think they're going to finish below 500.
They slow played Boz. He's been kind of ramping up in AAA. He threw 40 innings in AAA. So they threw him for 10 different starts, but I think they were doing it so once he was up, he's up. I think he's up now.
Yeah, I think he is too. And I think he could be good. I don't think he's going to be as good as Taj Bradley, but I do think he'll be, worth rostering. That's for sure.
Yeah. What about other guys on pitching this week? We talked. It's funny. A couple of these guys got smoked today. Michael Mercado, I had against Oakland. He got smoked today by the Braves. DJ Hers got smoked today. He's about 35% rostered in 12 teamers. You mentioned Edward Cabrera earlier. Obviously super talented, but walks the house usually. What else do you do with pitching? Because I found it tough to find arms if Boz was not available. And I was really interested. I think maybe Andre Palente in St. Louis with. Getting 2 below average offenses against righties, the Royals and the Cubs. I think I saw they're both under 100 WRC plus against righties. Maybe was the most interesting of the 2-step guys, at least.
I think I was targeting Palente and I was targeting Chris Paddock.
Okay, he's back. Going to be back on Monday.
Yeah. But again, Paddock was held in most of the leagues I was in. I was like, really? Nope, not available there. Not available there. Really? Okay,
he was 60% available in the main event. Obviously, readily available in 12s too. Apparently, you're in the league like Chris Paddock.
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, I mean, those are 2 really good starts for Paddock. Yeah. Palente, though, I ended up getting in the main. And we don't want to. We felt we owed it to him, but no. I think. And the Palente has pitched pretty well lately. I think the Royals aren't as strong as today, notwithstanding. Their offense has started to slow down a little bit there, so I wasn't really afraid of using him against that. The question, of course, with Palente is he going to how many innings is he going to give you? But he went 7 against the Pirates last time out.
His last 2 starts, 12 1/3, 1 earned run, 10 strikeouts, 4 walks. He's been pretty solid. The Cardinals are playing a little bit better. It was very tough pickings, and I thought he was the best of the ones after Boz.
Yeah. The Cubs are weird because one week, one game, they got shut out by Tyler Anderson on Saturday.
With 10 strikeouts too.
Yeah. On my bench. But whatever, you can't, I'll defend this decision-making process in that one. I'm not really that upset about it, even though result-wise, it sucks to lose that. But
yeah, I don't think you could worry too much about sitting at Tyler Anderson 1 step, but you just don't expect to get 10 strikeouts.
Yeah, but I'm gonna roll with Palente against the Cubs on Sunday. In the 2-stepper this week here
for sure.
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons we prioritized him over like some closer speculation this week because it's all speculation on the relief pitchers this week. There's no like this guy is going to be open for a job like Aroldis Chapman a couple weeks ago.
I do like a couple of closer specs, but we'll get there in a second. Did you do anything with Luis L. Ortiz, Pittsburgh starter? Really good stuff. Throws hard. Pitched really well today.
Boy, did he!
6 innings, 4 hits, no walks, 5 strikeouts. He was someone that was pretty hyped up last year when he got called up. I think a lot of people were pitting him. He was not good. He had a 1.7 whip. He walked 12% of batter. It was a really rough, kind of first entry in the majors. I know he threw 16 innings in 2022, but last year was really his first trip around the league. Did you do anything with Luis L. Ortiz?
We did not, but I'm intrigued. I mean,
me too.
Obviously it was really good today. 5 Ks in that run. He hasn't. I mean, he's had a couple other interesting spots, and then the Pirates have kind of gone away from him. So their commitment to him isn't very strong, and I don't really like that. Like he was really good at the Rockies on June 14th, and then he went a whole week without pitching.
And he's probably not guaranteed to start this week, right? Like it depends where you look. But if Marco Gonzalez comes back, you mentioned him earlier. they could throw Priester on Tuesday and Gonzalez on Friday and not throw Ortiz at all, which seems crazy after this.
And that's what we've got in our projected starters grid right now.
I think he's got to get another start after this start, right?
I would think so. But when you got Quinn Priester at the ready, you got to use him, Scott.
Great. I think I had Quinn Priester last year. It did not go well.
I think I have him as a keeper in one league because it's just I haven't activated him from my minors and I probably will never use him. But yeah, it's just, because Priester has got that draft pedigree. That's why Priester gets those chances, by the way.
And the problem might be
first round pick.
The problem might be they need someone Tuesday, and Ortiz obviously just pitched today, so we can't pitch Tuesday. But
on Sunday, why not just go Ortiz again? Just have a pick. Yeah, they could do that. Don't even have.
Or you go Ortiz, you push Gonzalez to you do something like that. But yeah, I wouldn't
be part of how they're how they're being creative with stretching Skenes that we alluded to earlier there.
Yeah.
But no, that's the thing. Them down 2 starters right now really messes things up for the Pirates there. Makes it really gray.
Other than that, Joey Estes, who threw a complete game shutout, the first A's one in a long time. I looked at him. He has 2 starts this week. I would say. Then I looked at Boston at Philly, and I immediately was like, no, I'm not doing that. So I got it fully away. I'm not pitching him for those 2 starts.
Yeah, same. I think I even cut him in one league and then witnessed him pitching so well this week. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll repick him. Nope.
Yeah. There's just no way I'm using that 2-step right there. That's one of those ones that's so extreme that I just can't do it. Real quick, I want to talk about relievers really quick. There was no, like you mentioned earlier, you're right. There's nobody that was an obvious, like you mentioned, a Chapman last week or 2 weeks ago was at least going to close while Bednar was out. But we're getting to the time of year where, we got 3 weeks till the trade deadline. If some closers are going to get dealt, some bad teams are going to deal their guys who are closing games for them. Is there anybody that you like as a spec right now?
Yeah.
Who are they? Yeah. Tell me who they are. Cause I've got a couple myself also.
Well, the first one is the one that is on your outline. Is AJ go where the puck is moving, not where it's been.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a Chris Lissism. And I really wanted to try to find a way to add him onto the roster, but we got Palente instead. We're going to use him this week. So it's tough making these tough decisions. Like, do I pick up this starter who's got 2 starts and I want to use this week? If I want to pick up this spec, I got to cut somebody else I kind of like. And that's where we're at. So ended up not getting Puck. And of course, Puck got snatched up by Spectre and Dave, which they're in a money spot right now in our league. Been in first a couple of those days. Dave McDonald, for those of you who don't know Dave. And I think it's a smart pick up there. When you're trying to find some saves, you got to sometimes get it before they get the job. If Tanner Scott does get dealt, if the Marlins are remotely competent, they're going to trade Scott. Or maybe they trade Puck for that matter. That's the possibility too. But I like this. I like the spec on that one there for sure.
Yeah, I think most importantly with Puck is just how good he's been since he's really come back and kind of settled in that reliever role. And he was good as a reliever role last year. It's just 17 1/3 since June. Strikeouts, 2 walks, really low ERA. He's just pitching really well right now. There was a comment in the chat that they love the Nard dog Andrew Nardi in Miami too, and that's. That may be the case too, but I still think if Scott gets dealt and they keep those guys, I still think Puck would get the 9th. But as we know, it could be a committee kind of thing. But I think how well Puck has pitched lately is really important.
I don't think he's proved. I'm going to disagree with the comment by PJ saying they proved he isn't closer material. I think he proved he is closer material. I think he was a pretty reasonably decent closer last year. It's just that Scott was better. It's just they proved that he can't handle starting in the majors. Yeah. That's what I think they proved. So I think you could close. Yeah.
And Paul Spohr, the chat mentioned they could deal Puck. Like that's very possible agreed. Too. Like I think that if I were a team, if I could get Puck fairly cheap, I'd love to do that too. I think he'd be a really nice 7th, 8th inning guy for a contending team right now too. If
I had a waterfall bid on Porter Hodge. Sorry to interrupt again.
I did too, and then when I saw this Biggie guy get called up, I think that I kind of eased back on that because I think he might be the next guy up too. But like you said, with the Cubs, it's been kind of all over the place.
You're more of a 2-pack guy. I get it.
I like that. I got that one too. Ben Joyce in Anaheim, Carlos Estevez. Kind of the same thing with the Marlins. If the Angels don't deal Carlos Estevez doing something wrong, they should deal Carlos Estevez. I know Luis Garcia's there too, but it seems like it'd be something the Angels would want to do to at least see Ben Joyce close in games that if they lose and it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. But I think that giving Joyce 2 months to close, I think would be a pretty smart call to see if maybe he might be the guy for you starting off next year.
Sure. I mean, they could do it at any time. They're not going to be good for 5 years. So, I mean, just you're going to have them do it next.
Sorry to any Angel fan listening. That was especially somber right there from Jeff.
It was. I'm sorry.
Not going to be good for 5 years. Boy, that's brutal. So we'll see you in 2030, Angels fans.
Yeah. Well, I mean, come on. Artie Moreno was
the sad part is you're right, but it's still kind of sad to hear it out loud.
I mean, Joyce is less wild than he was last year. Still only 6 walks in 12 innings versus 9 and 10 last year. So progress, great success. Sure, why not? Yeah, he didn't give up a run. Well, he hasn't even been great in the short term either. 2 weeks, last 30 days, it's 397, 141. Just the last couple of weeks, he's been good, but lots of Ks, but also lots of walks. That's the Ben Joyce experience.
Although he gave up 5 runs in his first 3 outings, he had a 2 and a 3 spot in there. He's gone 8 straight outings without a run. So at least it's been a little bit on the back end. He's been really good since those first 2 hiccups against Houston and Arizona.
Yeah, still 11-5 K to walk in 10 innings. So even during that stretch, he's still walking guys. Yeah,
the walks are definitely there. And I think we're going to be there for a bit, but it's hard to find relievers. It's even hard to find spec guys as I keep flipping through. I'm like, kind of like Puck. I threw Joyce on the back of some bids, but it's hard to find guys. It's hard to see. There probably will be a couple of guys that emerge from saves to get saves in the last couple of months, but it's kind of hard to see the process at the moment. See where Hunter Harvey in Washington maybe if they deal Finnegan, but they could trade Harvey too. It's
Harvey hasn't been good lately either.
Yeah, there is that also minor details, but
ended up cutting Harvey in a league today.
Yeah, I think I finally cut him. I finally got rid of him. Right, I mean, his ERA is 4.4 in the year. You're right; he has not been especially good. But you're looking for anybody with saves, then they'd be smart to deal Finnegan. It's tough.
Harvey got smoked in that Monday game against the Mets, where the extra inning game, and then he gave up a run the next day too. I mean, he started off the year pitching really well, but for the last since they went to Coors Field, he hasn't been the same. Since June 22nd, in six innings, he's got a 15 ERA. That's not good, I hear.
That is not good at all. We talked a little bit earlier about the Yankees' struggles. Real quick before we jump out of here, Anthony Volpe has been kind of the middle of those struggles. I mean, Soto and Judge have been awesome. Stanton was great until he got hurt, at least hitting home runs. Volpe started out so well, has not homered since May 16th. Hitting 180 last month, only 7 RBIs. They moved him out of the leadoff spot earlier this week. We both liked Anthony Volpe preseason. We liked him where he was getting drafted. We looked good for 6 weeks. It's been pretty rough these last 6 weeks.
It has. Pardon the dog grooming going on in the background there.
I can hear Harley too.
Yeah. It's been tough watching that there, and we're all kind of doing some Volpe victory laps and also some oh man, I wish I had him in more leagues sort of comments. I know I have, and it's just you take your eye at the ball, you're like, oh wow, he's been really bad.
Yeah, and it's weird because his strikeouts are significantly down. They're down 6%, but his hard hit rate's down 6% also. So maybe he's just, I think he struck out so much last year. Maybe he's adjusting there, not hitting the ball as hard. You can kind of see those kind of getting those correlating together, but he's down to 253, and then the BABIP is still 317. It's like it's a big BABIP issue. It's his OEP is down to 307. It's just been a rough stretch. It'll be interesting. I don't know what we're going to get in the second half. He could bounce back and be really good. He's still really valuable. He's really good defensively. If you look at WAR, his WAR is still really high. So he's still really valuable for the Yankees. But fantasy-wise, it's been really rough. I mean, he had 21 home runs last year. Through the first half of the year, he's got 6.
Yeah. It's frustrating. I just wonder if it's just a little blip though. But then again, Gleyber Torres had his power stretch and then power slump. I don't know. I really don't know what to expect.
And my guess, if I had to guess it, I would be, I think it was the blip also, but it's just definitely something to watch. And if you're in a shallower league, maybe you're starting to think about benching him or giving him a couple weeks to see what he's got. In a 15-teamer, I think you just got to throw him out there no matter what. But how about Christian Walker against the Dodgers this week? Was that an unreal? Why did they keep throwing him pitches? I do not know. But man, he's for someone that does not get a lot of doesn't get a lot of press. He got a lot this week because he's just killed the Dodgers. But he's at 22 home runs, 64 RBIs the first half, hitting 268. His strikeout rate's a little bit up, but his hard contact is way up. He's at a 17% barrel rate right now, 48.5% hard hit rate. Christian Walker has been a huge ad from anybody where you took him.
I always love these stories of players that just own a certain team, especially when it's a good team and good pitchers. And the player just straight up owns. And that's what Walker does. They threw up a stat about how he's like, he has more homers per game at Dodger Stadium than basically anyone.
Yeah. I saw a stat. He has since he came up, he has 7 more home runs there than anybody else that's a visiting player. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It is really funny to see that there. And yeah, all of a sudden 22 homers, like, oh yeah, he's slowing down a little bit. Nope. 857 OPS. He's doing Christian Walker things again. It's same pattern as like last year too, where he kind of goes through a quiet stretch to start the year. And then all of a sudden you see, just look at this last week. There's a lot of crooked numbers in those, like, and the game log there. It's really kind of fun to see. If you had him, you've been loving it lately. Last 7 days, 5-13. Last 21 days, 7-18. 1644 OPS the last. Yeah, if he's not player of the week, then player of the week just needs to go away.
Yeah, no doubt there. It's funny you mentioned guys who own really good players. We saw that on Saturday. Rafael Devers in 39 at-bats has a 1370 OPS against Garrett Cole. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. My favorite one, ownership one, was that Tony Gwynn just to wear out Greg Maddux, just wear him out. And I love stuff like that. Like just couldn't get him out. And
you hear Maddux when he does appearances and press and stuff. He always brings that up. I think there was and he never struck out, right? He faced him 103 times, never struck out was the stat.
That's insane.
And he hit 429 against him. I just found it online. 429 never struck out.
That's just wild. And there's little like strange of that. And then sometimes there's like lesser players that own a star. I mean, it's not just a Hall of Famer owning a Hall of Famer, but you just said, I just couldn't get that guy out, or I just couldn't hit that guy. Star.
And you always knows that about your favorite teams too. There's always been guys who just owned the A's over the years and they just couldn't get him out. Like I think it was Garrett Anderson, maybe it was some of the Angels that they could never get him out. You always get those guys that just can't figure out. It's
flipping Lance Berkman. Didn't matter which uniform he was wearing. Oh my gosh. He come into Cincinnati and every time just absolutely crushes the Reds. Oh, it was so bad. Ian Happ is that way against the Reds right now.
Oh yeah, he has. He does kind of own the Reds.
That's a hometown. That's a I'm from Cincinnati revenge sort of thing or something like that. It just wears the Reds out. It's incredible.
Even better, since I went down the rabbit hole, Tony Gwynn has 139 plate appearances against Greg Maddux and Pedro Martinez, and never struck out in any of those 139.
Oh, good grief!
That's pretty awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of rabbit holes online. People talking about Tony Gwynn against other players is kind of fun. So
yeah, Goldie over Lincecum is Paul Spore's favorite too.
Oh, that was a good one.
Mike Redmond against Tom Glavine. Oh, that was another good one there. I love that. I remember that one vividly. Yeah.
What a pull right there. That's a great pull by PJ322 right there. That's a great pull.
Yep.
437 lifetime average against and 472 on base against Glavine for Redmond. That's crazy.
We should do a rabbit hole pod at some point in time.
That'd be fun.
Although I guess this kind of is really.
Isn't that what we do every Sunday night?
Yeah.
Jeff, anything else on your mind? That was kind of all I had. A lot of offensive FAAB you guys to talk about, but anything else on your mind before we jump out of here for the week?
Suggestion from Paul Sporer, actually. Gilbert Diaz, highly rated prospect, making his debut for the Diamondbacks on Monday. Not eligible for us to bid in the NFBC environment, but certainly eligible in other leagues. So check your your league format there and your rules. You may be able to go pick him up. Diamondbacks need starting help. He's come quickly. He's only made 4 starts at AAA, held his own at the PCL in that time. So something to watch. Lots of strikeouts.
As someone who worked for a summer for a minor league team in Reno, I can promise you the ball flies there.
Yep. 28-9 K to walk in his 4 starts and 22 innings at AAA. That's got my attention.
as part of a promotion, we did like a thing that everybody win a cell phone. We had a fan that actually hit the ball out of hit a home run in between innings. And that's how much the ball flies there.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So everything it was one that was like, it would never happen. We always try to find an athletic guy in the stands before the game, but no, I mean, you get 3 pitches, try and hit one out, and the guy hit one out. It was pretty awesome.
My favorite minor league promotion was I think it was a Florida minor league team had a throw harder than Jamie Moyer contest, and nobody could do it because he threw in the 70s, right? And
you realize how hard that is to do.
Yeah, like you can't we're not going to give you like 10 warm-ups. You get like 2 pitches or whatever. Yeah. I mean, first of all, how many blown arms resulted from this promotion? Secondly, like it is revelatory how hard pitchers really do throw.
Yeah, it's funny. You see 79 looks so slow, but that's harder than anybody else could throw. That's
Exactly.
pretty. That's an awesome one too. So, all right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for all the comments in the chat. There was a ton of stuff in there too. We always appreciate that. If you're listening to the audio version, obviously appreciate you for that too. Thanks to DraftKings PickSix app for the sponsorship of the podcast. We appreciate them for that too. Again, that code for DraftKings PickSix is RWPicks. You play $5, you get 50 in PickSix credits there. If you want to follow Jeff or I on Twitter, he is at Jeff_Erickson. I'm at Scott Jenstad, talking a lot of baseball there. Other than that, Jeff will be not at you next Sunday, right? We have a week off for the All-Star break. Is that correct?
Correct. Annual RotoWire Vegas trip. We always take that Sunday off.
So we will be back at you on July 21st, talking baseball, talking FAAB. So everybody enjoy the All-Star break. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.